Gordon, you can see things are getting a little bit tighter.
Yeah, really. I was beginning to become very apprehensive.
Well, I saw them out in our dressing room that Ole Anderson, Sawyer, and the rest of his buddies came out, so we just came out ourselves.
Not to interrupt, but I'm a man, and I can say it to your face. I think, Mr. Armstrong, what you've done here is you're sticking your nose into someone else's business. In other words, it has completely nothing to do with you, Mr. Armstrong, and I think that it's a cheap shot on your part to just get a little extra publicity and come out here and talk to the folks and try to look like a big shot. And I think it cheapens myself, and I think it cheapens Mr. Foley, and I don't particularly like being taken advantage like that.
I have to agree with you. You are pretty cheap, and I came out because Tommy Rich is a friend of mine, and now you're sticking your nose in my business. What right have you got to do that? I can go anywhere I want to. I'm a man just like you, just as big and just as bad, but I will have to agree. It cheapens you, and it's hard to keep him any more than you are. Well,
I can, a bit of a loss for words.
I just want to say one thing. I've been hearing the comments by Mr. Piper here. I don't think I'm lacking on guts. I just have another commitment. I'm not going to let my son down. We have national tag team titles to defend, but I just want to tell you this, Brother Piper, that when I finish my commitments, you are the first on my list, and you know what list that is. Oh, yeah. Yes, I'm the first on his list. Daddy says I don't want to let my son down. Daddy says, doggone it, if I didn't have to get a loaf of bread, I'd be glad to fight you, Mr. Piper. If I didn't have to go wash the car, I would fight you. You see, I've been sitting back being a gentleman, and you've been coming on real strong. Well, if you wanted to get your trunks on, if someone was to make me hot, I wouldn't go and get my trunks on. I wouldn't do a lot of talking. I'd just get it done. There's nothing that would stop me. So, Mr. What he says, I'm a racehorse from Georgia. Well, that was obvious from the way he's running. You see, there's a difference between you and me, Mr. Armstrong. You're running away like a racehorse. I've never run from nothing. There is a difference between you and me, and that's a relief. Gordon, what happened to Piper, the mouth of the South, that was out here with you, huh?
Well, he, frankly, as he's made quite public, he's not too fond of you.
Well, I'm not too fond of him either. I think motor mouth is a good term to use for him. And probably what happened, he went out to call Gary Hart. They have that mutual admiration society. You know, he's taken over the reins of Kabuki now. And so he probably went to call Gary Hart, his favorite slick-headed manager, and tell him what's going on over here.
Yeah, that situation between Rod Piper and Gary Hart, I found almost unbelievable.
Well, I found it almost sickening myself, Gordon, to be honest with you.
I can certainly agree with that. It was an interesting situation, what we're talking about, in case you weren't tuned in last week. But we were in the process of interviewing Gary Hart when Mr. Piper said he wanted to interview him, and all of a sudden what transpired was most surprising indeed. And if you don't mind...
well, if you don't mind, I do mind, so we'll just leave and let you show it.
Okay, all right. Well, no love lost between those two, but it was most unusual, and I was somewhat surprised at the subjective nature that Mr. Piper took to Mr. Gary Hart. But anyway, here's the conversation as it took place between Gary Hart and Rod Piper.